It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. Before we get started, please hit that share button so we can, share with other people. All right, we're kicking things off with Vicki McKenna for our weekly Culture Cast segment. Vicki, a little sanity at the end of every week with you. I wish the stories weren't so depressing. We have two stories today from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. If you don't know where that is, or you've never heard of it, no big deal. It's apparently a very small liberal city on the border of Minnesota, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised what we find out. We found out, first of all, that at Eau Claire North High School, a staffer in the skills department, God only knows what that means, has posted a flyer that's causing all kinds of trouble. There's the flyer. It says, if your parents aren't accepting of your identity, then I'm your mom now. So basically, either you and your mom agrees with everything you do, or you can get a new mom at the public school.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if I would describe that as sanity. This may not be sanity at the end of the week. This may be just another, demonstration of insanity. Eau Claire, it's not just Eau Claire. It's Madison. It's Kettle Moraine, which is in the southeastern part of the state. It's all across the state of Wisconsin. And I would argue it's probably all across the United States. And it is this idea that it is a teacher's role to usurp the authority of parents, to endorse anything that might be contrary to the core values of that parent or the family. And that's exactly what this sign is saying. This sign is saying, if you want affirmation, come to us. And incidentally, you're going to show this slide as well. Eau Claire schools were saying parents aren't actually the authority. You are the authority. Parents must earn information about their children. Parents must earn their authority or their co-authority with the school. And so what you have is a declaration, and it's happened in many other places in Wisconsin, that when it comes to that time your child spends in school, you don't matter. You are not someone to be contended with. You are not a parent at that moment. And it's important to understand that can lead to a lot of really dangerous outcomes. And we'll get to some of those coming up.
So a question for you, Vicki. I mean, there were so many ways. Obviously, what we have going on here is the public school administration and the teachers deciding that they're sick and tired of fighting parents, that they're progressive. The public schools have become completely unified now and comprehensively incorporated in this progressivism, right? Let's be very clear about
100%.
This. There is no outlet. I mean, there may be some conservative teachers. There may be teachers who are biting their lip and keeping their mouth shut. But the entire edifice of American public schooling now is deeply progressive. And they've decided...
Oh, and it's not about education. Duke,
no,
it's not about education. You can go look at proficiency scores around the United States, but here in the state of Wisconsin, you have less than 27% of children in English proficient at grade level. And it's even worse than math. You take a look at it school district to school district, it's appalling. So it's not about education. It is about indoctrination. And importantly, again, it is not simply the Eau Claire school system. Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty is taking up these cases in Eau Claire, but they have current open active cases in Elmbrook, in the Kettle Moraine district near Waukesha, and in Madison. And in each instance, the school district ignores the actual legal, the legal challenges. In fact, Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty got a victory in Madison. Madison shrugged its shoulders and said, so what? So what? Sue us. Which is exactly what they have to do. All those parents who show up at school board meetings, I mean, God bless them, and we need them there. But the response from the administrators, the teachers, and the staff is to pretend you don't exist and to close ranks and lock down. And that is at the expense of your children's education and mental health.
Now, the question I was going to ask you is related to that. It's of all the ways that the public schools who have now consolidated their progressive bona fides, why do you think they chose sex? I mean, it could have been, there was a while there when you had Michelle Obama in the White House where they were coming after your kids' nutrition. Then for a while, they were trying to come after other aspects of your kids' personal lives and homes. Obesity, for instance, like lack of education, lack of exercise. Why do you think they fixated most demonstrably on sex? I mean, there's some obvious answers for that, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I would think that the one realm where you're uncomfortable as a child and you need a trusted adult is in, sex and the way you're developing and you're starting to experience new feelings. And that parent is supposed to be that trusted adult. What you have is the schools intercepting the child, and I guess trashing or undermining the trust that child has in a parent. In the case of that Eau Claire poster, your mom doesn't understand you. Your mom doesn't affirm your gender identity. I'm your mom now. That is a direct challenge to the trusted adult-child relationship that a parent and a child have, and it is meant to upend the trust of the child with the parent. I think that is really, if you can really disrupt the trust relationship between a parent and a child, you can do almost anything. You can distance a child politically, ideologically, religiously, sexually. You can do a lot if you can break that bond of trust.
If you go back to that poster once more, that's a threat, Vicki. That is a definitive threat. If your parents don't conform to our sexual politics at the public schools, then we now will be your mother. This is like dangling drugs in front of kids and say, unless your parents are open to you experimenting with drugs, we will be your mothers and we're going to give it to you. I mean, this is it's that down the rabbit hole.
Every time I see this poster, I feel like I need to point out that that is an actual printed poster from an organization called Free Mom Hugs. And you can go to Free Mom Hugs online if you want. They are affiliated with the International Women's Day, which many people perhaps don't know, but was started by the International Socialists back in 1919, 1917, something like that. And one of the founding principles of International Women's Day is the obliteration of family, of a woman being a mom, taking care of children. And so I think it's really interesting that this radical, politically sexual or sexual politics group, Free Mom Hugs, is actually affiliated with one of the most radical organizations that somehow has been sanitized and presented as kind of a you go girl kind of thing in the United States.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
All right, back with Vicki McKenna for the second segment of Culture Cast. And we were talking before the break about Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and the way they are threatening basically moms. If the mom does not agree, mom and dad don't agree with whatever sexuality the children wants to express, then you have a new mom, basically. And we have another a training day slide from the Eau Claire school system. This was a slide actually shown to teachers as guidance about how to proceed when dealing with parents. This is what it reads. Facilitators. Notice that they don't call teachers teachers anymore. We said that was going to happen in the Common Core days. Teachers aren't teachers, just like parents aren't parents anymore. They're caregivers. Facilitators. Guide the discussion. Remember, parents are not entitled to know their kid's identity. That knowledge must be earned. You've got to earn, as mom and dad, the right for the public school to tell you what gender your kid is. And then they continue by saying, teachers are often straddling this complex situation. In ECASD, our priority is supporting the student. No, it's very clearly supporting what the teachers want the student to become.
Yeah. So it's very clearly supporting the promotion of alt sexuality, period. And again, we have video of the love bombing that was taking place when kids were encouraged to declare themselves alt sexual in the Madison schools. You have got multiple instances already of parents being denied access to information about their kids, and teachers actively lying, being instructed to lie to parents. And not use the gender pronouns that they're using at school, actively conceal from parents kids' gender identity. That's in the Madison schools. And now you have, overt teacher training. Facilitator training, overt training. And where does that training come from, Duke? Does it come from AFT? Does it come from, the NEA? because it's, we don't know where that training comes from, but presumably that training is ubiquitous across at least all school districts in Wisconsin. And from what we can tell from stories we have seen, school districts across the United States. So who is developing the teacher training materials that are teaching teachers that their goal is to subvert parental authority and core values of a family?
Well, the short answer is LGBTQ groups. Our dad, Planned Parenthood has a hand in this, and anybody who stands to benefit politically or financially is behind a lot of this administrative stuff as well. But this posts another question I want to ask you. So now we have still, overwhelmingly young children in middle and high school who are heterosexual. So what do you think? Psychologically, what do you think it means when these kids, the vast majority of them are traditionally gendered, the vast majority of them are heterosexual, when all of this time and fuss and money and attention and popularity is being thrust around anybody else? The idea, the underlying implication here is if you're heterosexual, you're backward. I mean, we may allow it in this day and age, but you better apologize for your privilege, and you better realize that it's people like you with your evil normativity who have harassed these people ever since the age of the dinosaurs. I mean, what psychological message do you think is being sent to everybody else in the classroom?
I think how it probably started was the heterosexual kids were just dismissed as not special, and doesn't every kid want to be special? And then again, I mean, you can go find these, and I've posted them many times, the love bombing videos of teachers and staff when a 6th grade student declares herself non-binary. Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations. I mean, it's like old school cult-like love bombing that's going on. But now I think that there's an element of derision that is being directed toward the heteronormative kids. There's something wrong with you. You're a bad person if you're not somebody who is declaring yourself alt-sexual or embracing of it and promoting it. I think that it is the conditions in the classroom are likely such that kids are seeking out the accolades. I mean, that's how kids are. That's how every kid that was in a class that wasn't, some kind of stoned burnout in the classes I had were seeking accolades and attagirls and attaboys from the teachers and good job and here's a gold star. And now instead of getting those things for being excellent at English, getting 100% on your spelling test, or 100% of your math quiz, you're getting it if you declare yourself to be non-binary or omnisexual or transgender. That is considered a great accomplishment, and you're getting accolades and love and adoration, and that I think is pretty potent when you're a kid seeking approval.
Well, I also think a lot of kids are identifying that way because there's nothing to lose, right? I mean, you don't even have to act on your homosexuality or your bisexuality.
Right. Just say you are.
Just say you are, right? Because then your options are wide open. You get all the accolades. Right now you're fluid, although you may have no sexual thoughts or attraction whatever to anybody but people of the opposite sex. If you're a kid, particularly the younger kids, you're going to sign on to that no matter what.
Yeah.
Yep.
And think about it back when we were kids and we were around the same age, when you had the kids who were in the group that loved punk rock and all of that stuff. That's the group that is going to seek out something that is a little bit alarming, just to be kind of dangerous and rebellious, and kids will think you're cool.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
All right, it's time for Trending Left. We've compiled some of the craziest social media content making waves across the internet for your viewing pleasure or despair. Depends on your mood. We start in Indianapolis, Indiana, where LGBTQ activists are hosting a non-binary sex ed summer camp for children. Yes, a sex ed camp for kids 10 to 12 years old. According to the webpage, kids will not be divided by gender when learning about puberty and sex because gender, quote, is a spectrum and not a binary, unquote. In addition, kids will also witness a condom demonstration. Cost to attend the week-long sex ed camp, $250 per kid. Mom, get used to it. Vacation Bible camp is a thing of the past. Woke moms are going to be sending their kids to virtual sex camp. Hey, on the topic of alphabet people, KinderCare, one of the largest daycare centers in the country, is making sure to push the LGBTQ agenda as often as they possibly can. According to their website, more than 200,000 children attend the early childhood centers across the country. To join in on the fun of Pride Month, they made sure to provide suggestions on how families could celebrate the Rainbow Coalition, starting with babies and toddlers. In the section for babies and toddlers, you can create your rainbow puzzle to illustrate diversity to your little one. For preschoolers, you can make a sign you can hang in or outside your home to show you're an ally to this community. Pre-kindergartners, mix up where everyone sits for dinner and talk about how it feels to be sitting in the wrong place and how it feels to see somebody else in your chair. And for school-age kids, normalize non-traditional family structures and break gender stereotypes by making a list of chores and asking your child to match the chore to parent. Hint, anyone can do any chore. And if that's not enough, some more advice for Pride Month. Switch the caps on a set of magic markers so they don't match the colors inside. Talk with children about whether the color of the magic marker cap should match the color of the marker itself. Does it matter to children if what they wear on the outside represents how they feel on the inside? How would it feel if they weren't allowed to express their personality outwardly? This is, my God, a huge indoctrination, brainwashing, personality scrubbing program to just force kids down a very, very, very politicized, ideologically dangerous path. And speaking of things that don't make sense, we have a pastor here, Pride-inspired online church called The Chosen Family, allegedly a Christian church. He wants you to know that God is actually non-binary, queer, and autistic. Why? Because he's non-binary, genderqueer, and autistic. I guess if it were me, I'd add nerd to the list, but you judge for yourself.
God is non-binary, God is queer, God is autistic. Let me unpack that for you. God is non-binary because God is the author of gender. God is genderless and genderful. They are neither male nor female, and they are both. They refer to themselves both as male and female throughout the text. And yet theology would tell us that God does not have gender, so by definition, God is non-binary. God is queer because, like gender, God is the author of all sexualities. All sexualities exist in God, and yet God is not explicitly sexual. And since asexuality is part of the LGBTQ spectrum, we can say God is queer. And finally, God is autistic because autism is a divergence from typical neurology. And since no being in existence has a mind like the mind of God, God is by definition neurodivergent. And as an autistic person, I like to say God is autistic. God always identifies with and as the most marginalized people in society.
White is black, black is white. Welcome to the world of Orwell, projected onto God. That sounds like one hell of a church. Meanwhile, a video trending on TikTok asked teachers if they were banned from teaching critical race in the classroom, how would they continue to teach it? Let's learn together.
If you were banned from teaching critical race theory, how would you continue to teach it?
This might not be helpful advice at all, but I'm gonna do it anyway. If I were non-renewed for teaching kids to think critically about race, power, and privilege, facts, and how to dismantle systems of oppression and white supremacy, I'll be gone, I guess. Luckily, there's a teacher shortage, so I'll find somewhere else to do the same thing.
I guess we finally figured out what white privilege really is. Being a white school teacher who's going to ruin your kid's education no matter what the governor or anybody else says. I suppose we finally found it, ladies and gentlemen. Progressive teachers are white privilege. It's time for some real education. All week long, we're showcasing our series entitled 56 Signers of the Declaration of Independence. These short, historically accurate videos are designed to educate children and adults alike on our nation's founders in 90 seconds or less. Today, we're going to take a look at Thomas Jefferson and Robert Treat Paine. Enjoy.
Let me tell you a little story about a man named Thomas Jefferson. Born in Albemarle County, Virginia on April 13, 1743, Thomas was so incredible he was said not to be a Renaissance man, but to be an entirely new kind of man. Jefferson was tutored and started attending William and Mary College at age 16. Eventually, he would be educated in 7 languages and go on to be a lawyer, musician, scientist, agriculturalist, author, architect, philosopher, inventor, and politician. Thomas was elected to the House of Burgesses and later was sent as Peyton Randolph's replacement to the Continental Congress, where he was the main drafter and a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson would later be elected to the Virginia House of Delegates, Governor of Virginia, Secretary of State, Vice President of the United States, then the President. Jefferson died on July 4, 1826, the same day as John Adams, and on the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And there you go, a little story about a man named Thomas Jefferson. Let me tell you a little story about a man named Robert Treat Paine. Born in Boston, Massachusetts on March 11, 1731, Robert's poor health drove him to set out to become a sailor to build up his strength. Paine graduated from Harvard College at age 18. He sought many endeavors, from teaching to sailing. Eventually, he began studying law and was admitted to the bar. He eventually would be a prosecutor in the Boston Massacre case. Robert was elected to the Provincial Assembly, where he signed the Olive Branch Petition, the final appeal to the king. Not long afterwards, he was sent as a representative for Massachusetts to the Continental Congress, where he signed the Declaration of Independence. Paine became the Speaker of the Massachusetts House of Representatives, was the first Massachusetts Attorney General, and then later he served on the Supreme Court for 14 years. Paine died in 1814 in Boston at the age of 83. And there you go, a little story about a man named Robert Treat Paine.
And I want to take a moment to thank our Patriot Club members, because if it weren't for you, we wouldn't be able to make these kind of videos. Seriously, your financial support provides the resources to bring these stories to life for all kinds of kids and adults to enjoy. If you are not already a member of the Patriot Club, please consider once a year a $99 gift. It's completely tax deductible. All you got to do is go to patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us to get started. And that's going to do it for the show. I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, stay educated, my Patriot friends.